At Ollie's Avery Ollie Fisher Beware. Made created solely by @Birdadogs, Birdadog Shop. Screenshots provided by Catskull4WS plus other creators. Important updates after conclusion, last updated January 16, 2024 2:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ollie's talks to @Catskull4WSVI message. I would first like to preface this document with the relevant information that I, Rory, as a 20-year-old adult, would ordinarily not take part in trying to cancel a minor such as Ollie, as I feel the difference in age to be a bit unfair. However, the actions that Ollie has taken over the past few weeks have surpassed the level of my being able to stand idly by, to the point where I feel this document necessary. I firmly believe that Ollie is an individual who poses a major threat to both the therian community at large, as well as the thousands of children who follow Ollie on his social medias. He has an enormous following on TikTok, and due to this fact, I feel it absolutely necessary to make this document. If you have any further questions regarding the information provided, please send a DM to @BirdieDogShop on Instagram, where I will be happy to explain more. For the record, I was never a member of, and am currently not in, any of the group chats mentioned in this document. I would recommend opening this document on a computer, laptop, or tablet as it will read a lot easier. If you are opening it on your phone, the Google Docs app allows for better image quality than viewing it any other way. This document is extremely long, but please read the entire thing as it contains extremely important information. This document is, mostly, in order of least horrible to most horrible. Please read this entire document as most of the egregious accusations are towards the middle or end. Trigger warning: this document contains references to subjects including suicide, self-harm, hospitals, and sexual solicitation of a minor. There are no explicit images or detailed references to these things, but they are topics that do come up in this document, at times in ways that are deeply upsetting. I will be discussing 3 main points in this document. The first will be his hatred and mistreatment of his fans, including ridiculing them, mocking them, or hating on the therian community in general. The second involves his mask-making practices as they apply to his business and Etsy shop, Fox Felt Masks. This will cover his poor business practices as well as poor product quality, including lying about his products and misusing Etsy. This section also includes him pretending to be his parent and lying about attempting suicide, which is an extremely triggering portion of this document. The third category is other grievances I personally have with Ollie, including his treatment of myself, as well as his treatment of other therian creators, which includes some very serious accusations such as sexual solicitation of a minor. I absolutely do not condone hatred towards Ollie, which includes sending hate or threats of any kind to him via direct messages, comments, or posts. If I find that you have sent any form of hatred or threats to Ollie or about him, you will be blocked from all of my accounts and blacklisted from my business. I do not take these things lightly, and the intention of this document is not to cause harm but to raise awareness of his actions. Ollie is a minor, and it is incredibly important to keep this in mind both when interacting with him and with reading this document. I understand that due to his age, he has time to learn and grow as a person, and I sincerely hope he does. But for the time being, he is creating a problematic and dangerous presence in the therian community, and I believe it is necessary to create this document to raise awareness. Hatred and mistreatment of his fans and community. Ollie has over 150,000 followers on his TikTok, @Ollie's Aviary, and most of these followers are under the age of 18. Ollie himself is a minor, however the size of his audience, and the fact that most of them are kids gives him a considerable amount of power in the therian community on TikTok. You would think that a creator with a platform this size, especially considering the young demographic, would make sure that he is creating a safe environment for his fans. This, however, is not the case. Ollie has time and time again said hurtful and cruel things to and about his fans, which have been exposed by various screenshots from direct messages and group chats he is in. Provided throughout this section are screenshots that have been provided by other therian creators that show exactly how harmful Ollie is to this community. This section contains the mildest accusations against Ollie, so if you would like to skip to the very worst of them, I continue to delve deeper as the document continues. Not caring if his fans were suicidal. In a conversation in a group chat that will be mentioned very often in this document, a therian in the chat shares a screenshot that someone edited a comment to make it look like they didn't care about a suicidal fan. Ollie then replies saying that someone being suicidal is a them problem, and he wouldn't care if he received a real comment like this. Katz messages Ollie directly about this, being upset that he would take this stance, and Ollie continues to state how he wouldn't care if one of his fans were suicidal, and asks why it should be his problem. It is one thing to not respond to a comment like this, but to actively state that you don't care if your fans are suicidal, because you have your own problems is very telling. Making fun of his fans. Ollie has time and time again stated how little he cares about the people who follow him, and this is an example of it. Ollie received fan art from a very likely young fan, and decided to send it to Katz, the other creator featured in the fan art, with the comment "Don't laugh 3 times." This implies that he thinks the fan art is funny somehow, which I assume has something to do with how it is drawn. I could never imagine putting in the effort to draw my favorite creators and the creator in question thinking it was funny because of how I drew it. Getting upset with his fans for being fans. The first screenshot shows a picture of a DM a member of the group chat received of a person asking politely about a situation that occurred between Ollie and another Therian creator. The next screenshot shows Ollie messaging the person directly stating "block me" when the group chat encourages him to unblock the person as they were very sad that their favorite creator suddenly turned on them out of nowhere. He unblocks them, and continues to state that he hates everyone, and that Ollie isn't fronting, and is nicer. This is the first reference to Ollie's alter riot, which involves him having dissociative identity disorder, DID, which I discuss in more detail in section 3, under threatening to commit suicide, and blame his, at the time, friends for it. The third and fourth screenshots are of a message Ollie received from one of his fans. This message states that Ollie is their favorite person in the world, and Ollie sent it to the group chat with the message, "Is it bad that this makes me mad?" Ollie received a nice DM from a fan, who is probably very young, and got angry about it. The group chat mostly agreed that the message was not something to be mad about and that they wish they would receive messages like that. Ollie clearly does not like his fans. Bad business practices. Ollie runs an Etsy shop, Fox Felt Masks, where he sells handmade masks. There have been many cases in which he has misused Etsy for personal gain, as well as blatantly going against Etsy's terms of service. The quality of the masks he sells is also not up to the standard he claims them to be, charging hundreds of dollars for masks made out of cardboard and cheap materials without disclosing, and at times lying about, the quality of these masks. Misusing Etsy and breaking terms of service, TOS. The following screenshots are previously sold listings from Ollie's Etsy shop. These listings include both fake listings for mask trades, which is a form of review farming in which a person buys a listing with a fake price, so that the shop owner can still receive a review for the item, even though it is a part of a trade. He also does this to ease shipping and reduce costs, as shipping through Etsy is cheaper than buying a shipping label from the post office, which is also a questionable business practice. He also had listings for plain cat mask bases that are not handmade, which goes against Etsy's TOS. The following screenshot is the item details from his custom mask listing. This description breaks Etsy's TOS by claiming that he will not refund an accidental order, which he cannot do, as well as having the listing price be different than the actual price he will charge you after you message him about the mask. These are incredibly bad business practices, and buying from him is an incredible risk. Poor quality of his masks. Ollie sells his masks for over $100 each as a base price, with his commission slots costing more depending on complexity. This has already been discussed in the misusing Etsy category, but the cost of his masks should reflect the quality of his work. Through mask trades and commissions between Ollie and other makers in the community, the masks that have been received from Ollie have all been made using cardboard. There is nothing wrong with using cardboard when creating a personal mask, but to use a material that deteriorates over time, causing the eventual breaking of the mask, and charging hundreds of dollars for it is unfair. Ollie does not disclose in any of his Etsy listings that the masks are made of cardboard, and he very much overcharges for the quality. The following screenshots are of a mask that another Therian received from Ollie, which shows the poor quality of the mask as well as the materials it is made out of. Ollie has stated that he uses Eva foam to make his masks, effectively lying about the materials and quality put into them, but this can be disproven by the following screenshots. Multiple people who have received his masks have complained of a strange smell of the masks, including being mentioned in at least one public review on his Etsy. In Ollie's live streams he conducts on his Instagram account, he has shown his pet birds with him while he makes his masks, which leads me to believe the smell is from these birds. Birds are messy, and they do not go to the bathroom in one place. Having birds around your masks and materials will lead to contamination of the masks, whether that be from feathers, bird seed, or even potentially fecal matter. He has never to my knowledge disclosed that his birds go anywhere near the masks, which is unfair to his customers who could potentially be affected by their masks coming into contact with these animals. The following screenshot is from one of Ollie's live streams, and I have censored his face as I believe it to be inappropriate to include his face in this document. This photo shows his bird sitting on his shoulder as he makes a mask. Shipping masks late and bad customer service. Ollie has shipped masks late, most recently being a time when he was hospitalized and was unable to ship a mask. This mask was a pre-made mask, meaning that it was already made and constructed and just needed to be shipped out. The mask was ordered on December 20, 2023 as shown in the screenshots between Ollie and the customer. This customer sent multiple messages that went unreplied, not being aggressive or angry in any of them. Ollie eventually responds, saying that he has been in and out of the hospital, and is trying his best to get things shipped out. The person makes a comment that he is being irresponsible with his business, which is true as the mask was pre-made, and it had been over 2 weeks with no replies from Ollie for a mask that was already made. Ollie then sends a rude message to the customer, stating that he had a medical emergency, and they should understand. This was not public knowledge, as the only post he made in reference to being in the hospital was an Instagram story post that said he wouldn't be online, never once mentioning the medical emergency. He never alerted any of his customers that he would be away, only posting a story post in reference to it. With the ability to add a note to your shop on Etsy, or send an update message to customers all at once, it is in fact irresponsible that he did not alert his customers of late shipping, regardless of him being in the hospital. When running a business, even an online one through Etsy, you have a responsibility to your customers to inform them of things such as this. Details are not required, but if you have received a payment for a product, you owe your customers information on any delays to them receiving it. Reselling other creators' masks and fursuits on Etsy without credit. Do not buy the fursuit listings on Ollie's Etsy. Ollie received these fursuits as gifts, and is trying to make a profit off of them. The original owner of the suits is trying to get them back. Do not buy these listings. Ollie has previously sold items that have been made by other creators on Etsy, which has been touched on in the Breaking Etsy TOS section, but as of writing this section of the document, 11:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, January 12, 2024, Ollie is reselling many masks on his Etsy that were made by other creators, including those he received at no cost, effectively making a profit off of other people's work. One of the creators whose mask is being resold messaged Ollie on Etsy to let him know he should not be doing that. The reply allegedly came from one of Ollie's parents, though this is suspect considering the context. The person replying, whether that be Ollie's parents or himself, claims that they are selling Ollie's collection to pay for Ollie's hospital bills, as that is where he apparently currently is. The first hole in this story is that the items posted on Etsy are perfectly photographed. These items were not planned to be sold ahead of time by Ollie, so for his parents to not only create listings on Etsy for all of his items, they knew to take professional photographs of them for the listings. Another factor that does not make sense is the titles of the listings. In the screenshot between Ollie's shop and the previously mentioned Therian, the person responding misspells furry and claims that they don't understand all the woke fury stuff. Yet, all of the listings have titles that only a person who does understand the woke furry stuff would title them, including species names, the word cosplay, knowing that one of the masks is an unfinished lion mask as opposed to completed, using the abbreviation MQ for medium quality on a dino mask, and knowing the specifications of sizing on the fursuit listing, including that it is called a full suit. All of the listings also have accurate pricing details that a parent who is not involved with the furry therian community would not be able to know. The next few messages from Ollie's shop are extremely triggering, including reference to hospitals, suicide, and self-harm, so skip these next screenshots if these topics will upset you. The person replying to messages on Ollie's shop is almost certainly Ollie after they send these next few messages to this maker. I will refer to this person as Ollie from this point forward, as it is very telling that this is him and not his parent. This message is very much Ollie, and not his parent, as a grown adult, who just experienced their child attempt suicide would never say any of this, let alone say it to a person through Etsy direct messages. The language used is also very much indicative of Ollie, including saying you, and Ollie used to be very close instead of are very close, as they would most likely not know that Ollie and this person were no longer close if Ollie was currently in the hospital awaiting surgery. Another key takeaway from this screenshot is explicitly saying slit his wrist, which is a volatile way to phrase this, and a parent of a child who had just attempted suicide, especially in this manner, would absolutely not phrase this message so openly or violently. If Ollie had truly done this, he would not need an expensive surgery, as most acts of self-harm in this location would be sutured with stitches, and would not need to undergo an operation. On the off chance that Ollie had harmed himself to the degree that he needed surgery, one would assume that the least of Ollie's parents' worries would be to sell his collection, and would instead be to be with their child, who is in an extremely dangerous and heart-wrenching situation. The "tell me what happened" child is also just an extremely unlikely phrasing for an adult to use when responding to this creator's message, especially considering that this therian had previously met Ollie's father in person. As a person who has been hospitalized 7 separate times for suicide attempts, the most recent being in 2022 in an attempt I should not have logically lived through, it is absolutely vile that Ollie would make these claims. The next part of this is the claim that does not make sense, is that Ollie has expensive medical bills that need to be paid by selling Ollie's collection. If you do not know how hospitals and medical billing work in the United States, in a situation where Ollie needed to be hospitalized from a suicide attempt, the needed surgery would be conducted, then it would first be billed to Ollie's parents' insurance after the surgery and hospital stay had concluded. Then, whatever the remainder of their bill was after insurance would be sent to his parents to be paid. They would absolutely not know the cost of his hospital stay or surgery at this point, and yes, it is likely that this would be expensive, as healthcare in the United States is incredibly costly, But let us think about this from an adult's perspective. First, you find that your child had just attempted suicide in a violent and terrifying way, so you would logically go to the hospital with him and be there for your child any way you can. This attempt allegedly occurred less than 24 hours ago as of writing this line, 8:10 p.m. EST, January 12, 2024, so Ollie's parents decided to go home, take professional photographs of all of his masks and other items, list them all on Etsy, including accurate titles and specifications, instead of being with him at the hospital? Helping take care of him? It absolutely does not add up. Additionally, Ollie's parents appear to be well off money-wise, including the fact that his family owns a second property in Florida when Ollie lives in the Midwest. But let's just assume that Ollie's parents couldn't afford his hospital stay. Logically speaking, wouldn't the obvious solution be to start a GoFundMe? Or if that wasn't possible, get a mortgage on your house? Sell an expensive item such as a car? Why on earth would their immediate thought be to sell Ollie's collection of items that they apparently don't know anything about, yet they know the correct labels, specifications, and pricing? How would they know that these items are of value if they know nothing about this woke forge stuff? There are many, many ways that his parents could pay for an expensive hospital stay without selling Ollie's collection, but they logically do not even know how much this hospital stay and alleged surgery will cost. If the story is true that Ollie self-harmed in such a way that required surgery and a hospital stay, his parents would absolutely be at the hospital with him and wouldn't even think about taking the time to carefully list everything he loves on Etsy. This attempt allegedly happened less than 24 hours ago. It would be very fresh in his parents' minds, and thinking about the cost would not be as important as thinking about their child's life. One could try and make the argument that maybe Ollie's parents are very mean to him. Maybe they just don't care. But this can easily be disproved by the fact that he makes posts at trampoline parks, zoos, stores, and scenic locations that cost money to go to, and considering that Ollie is a minor who is not yet old enough to drive, how else could he get to these places if it weren't for his parents? We know that his parents are the ones taking him, as well, as Ollie has previously met another therian in person at a Renaissance fair, where this therian was able to meet his father. This is not to say that his father couldn't have been putting on a facade of niceness around his child's friend, as I understand that terrible people can still present nicely, but why would he agree to take him to the Renaissance fair in the first place? Ollie is also allowed to wear his gear in public, including at stores such as Walmart. If his parents hated him, wouldn't you think they would bar him from wearing gear in public? Wouldn't they prevent him from following his passions in art in the therian community? Ollie is also under the age of 18, and to sell on Etsy you have to be at least 18 years old. His parents are someone else's helping him run this shop, therefore encouraging his passions. It is absolutely disgusting that Ollie would pretend to be his parents and lie about being in the hospital after attempting suicide, and he needs to be held accountable. Actions towards other therian creators, including myself. Ollie has time and time again said incredibly cruel and hurtful things to many therian creators, as well as myself and my boyfriend Frank. This section is a collection of screenshots of Ollie saying and doing awful things, and can be quite triggering in the sense that it involves suicide and sexual solicitation. Asking for, pressuring, and receiving sexually explicit images from a minor. Ollie was previously in a relationship with a therian that has asked to remain anonymous, but their testimony is vehemently important to this document, so this section needs to be included. The therian in question will henceforth be referred to as W, with their username and real name censored in every screenshot provided. Any questions regarding their identity will be ignored, as their safety and privacy is of utmost importance. W was in a romantic relationship with Ollie for a time, and throughout their relationship Ollie had asked them numerous times for sexually explicit images, which W then sent. W felt pressured throughout the entire relationship to send these photos, and it is very likely that Ollie is still in possession of these images. Both W and Ollie are minors, but even though Ollie is a minor himself, being in possession of these images of W is considered being in possession of child pornography. It is very much illegal for him to have these images, and regardless of the fact that he is also a minor, being in possession of these sexually explicit images of W is illegal and disgusting. W has expressed to me directly that they fear that Ollie will leak these images of them, and I am very much hoping that Ollie is sane enough to not do something so incredibly illegal and cruel. The screenshot afterwards is a member of the group chat asking W how they felt about this comment from Ollie, and I will let their response speak for itself. This is a screenshot of a conversation between W, whose messages are in gray, and Kat's, whose messages are in blue, discussing a time in which Ollie asked W for sexually explicit images, while W was actively venting and upset. This shows how little Ollie cared for someone he was supposed to love, and I think is very telling of how he is as a person. Discussing NSFW topics with minors, as well as doing so without permission. As discussed above, Ollie has a habit of bringing suggestive and otherwise NSFW topics into spaces he shouldn't, though being a minor himself, discussing NSFW things online in general is dangerous for him to be doing, and in this screenshot, it shows him asking a group chat of roughly 15 people, all of whom are minors, except one person, for their kinks. This screenshot also includes a reply to his previous comment, saying that it always works, implying that he used this language towards W regularly. The fact that he asked for everyone in this group chat's kinks is problematic enough, but explaining that he needs to know for reasons implies that he would be using this information for something else, most likely something that many of the people would not like, considering his hesitation to discuss the situation. This next section may be a bit hard to follow, but the following screenshots read in order from left to right and top to bottom. Katz was sent this message by W, and then sent it to the group chat to openly discuss the situation. The members of the group chat were shocked, and asked Ollie to take accountability for the things he has said in a non-confrontational way. Ollie proceeds to tell them to talk to Riot about it. Ollie claims to have dissociative identity disorder, DID, and Riot is another alter in his system. Riot tends to send mean and shocking messages to anyone he interacts with, and it was recently Ollie proceeds to tell them to talk to Riot about it. Ollie claims to have dissociative identity disorder, DID, and Riot is another alter in his system. Riot tends to send mean and shocking messages to anyone he interacts with, and it was recently revealed that Riot is only 11 years old. For those unaware of how DID works, our systems in general, an alter in a system is a separate sense of self sharing the body with other individual identities. These alters can have ages different from the physical age of the body, but an alter under the age of around 12 is usually considered to be something called a little. These child alters have different rules and regulations on how they interact with the world that vary greatly between systems, but there has never been a time when boundaries involving Riot and members of this group chat have been discussed. As such, when it was revealed that Riot was only 11, the members of the group chat expressed discomfort in talking to this child alter as opposed to Ollie. Ollie tries to tell the group chat to take up their grievances with Ollie, to which they state how they do not want to talk to an 11-year-old. Ollie continues to deflect, and then in the fourth screenshot states that they are all going in his suicide note, the word goodbye, then leaves the group chat. After Ollie stated y'all are going on my suicide note, goodbye, Catskill 4WS proceeded to call the state police, who went to Ollie's house to perform a welfare check on him. To tell the people who consider you a friend when they politely asked you to explain yourself and take accountability for your actions that they are all going in your suicide note, effectively blaming them for and scaring them into thinking you are going to kill yourself is extremely inappropriate. Considering not a single one of the people in the group chat actually said anything harmful to Ollie, and the fact that most of them wanted to remain friends afterwards, it is a wildly disgusting that he would take this stance. Threatening to kill yourself when you are asked to take accountability is vile, and blaming your friends for it speaks for itself. This screenshot is from Ollie's public Instagram story stating that he has DID, so this information was public knowledge. Saying incredibly hurtful things about his friends and other Therian creators behind their backs. Ollie has a habit of talking about other Therians behind their backs, and the following two screenshots show him discussing a Therian called Ka, who, in the second screenshot, has done nothing wrong and Ollie just gets a weird vibe from them. This is extremely problematic, and accusing a Therian of being weird for no reason can lead to the spreading of misinformation, as well as slandering people who do not deserve to be slandered. This next screenshot is between Ollie and W, in which he says incredibly hurtful things about cats. This is the screenshot that Katz sent to the group chat that sparked Ollie to become incredibly hostile. The screenshot after that is Ollie hating on another Therian for again, no discernible reason. Attempting to slander my birdie dog's business and name. This next portion I am going to mostly let the various screenshots speak for themselves since there are a lot of them. This portion is my personal grievances with Ollie. The first two screenshots are Ollie responding in a separate group chat than the previously mentioned one, stating that I ghosted him after starting a mask trade. The day before he sent this message to the chat, he had messaged me on my business Instagram asking if we were still doing the trade. I instantly replied, and told him politely that I would no longer like to complete the trade, and if he had completed my mask he was free to sell it. He replied stating that this was fine, and we moved on from it. I had never ghosted him and provided pictures of the mask I was working on for him various times, and then after a few months of him not sending anything to me, I stopped working on my side of the trade and assumed it wasn't happening. Ollie sent the inquiry about the trade months after I had last heard from him. Ollie then claims in the group chat that he provided many pictures and updates, to which I sent Katz a screen recording of our entire DM chain from our first message to send to this group chat on my behalf, as I am not a member of this chat. These next screenshots are in response to a video I made about Ollie, in which I never said his name or tagged him. He claimed that he didn't know the hashtag #StopTherian was racist, however in the screenshots, directly beneath the red text further down in this document, he had already known that this similar tag that I discuss in my video was racist before my video was even created. These next screenshots are between Katz and Ollie discussing my video, including a story post he made to his TikTok account where he claims I told him to kill himself. I have never once said this to him, or anything similar, or anything hateful or harmful at all. For him to make this video about me, especially after the conversation between myself and him, which is included after Katz's, is absolutely disgusting. He commented on my video stating that he received death threats because of my video, so I told him to message me directly to talk more about it, as these are not things I take lightly. Hi. These are the messages between myself and Ollie after he told me in my comment section he had received death threats. These are the screenshots from well before my video was posted showing the same exact tag to Ollie, and him learning about how it was racist before my video was even made. This next section are miscellaneous things Ollie has done that do not really fit with the rest of the categories. This screenshot is of him sending a censored in case it is real IP address that he claims to belong to a member of the chat, trying to dox them as a joke, which terrifying them and causing them immense stress. I am including this as I myself am a victim of child sexual abuse, and it is disgusting behavior for this person to openly say, because Ollie is a minor, him soliciting child pornography from W is not as bad as if Ollie were an adult. Directly stating that it could be worse and belittling W's experience. This is extremely inappropriate and disgusting, so this person gets to be in this document too. So keep this in mind when interacting with that 0 on a Farrakid. Conclusion. This is everything problematic and horrible that Ollie has said and done that I am currently aware of. I believe that spreading awareness of this dangerous individual is of utmost importance, and I sincerely hope that he learns from his mistakes and changes as a person. As it stands, Ollie is an incredibly unstable and dangerous person who has harmed many people in many ways, and I hope that this document sheds light on the Ollie drama that I'm certain you now know is far more than just petty nonsense. If you have any questions about anything in this document, please send me a direct message on my Instagram @birdidogshop, and I will clear up anything you need me to. Thank you for taking the time to read this, as well as thank you to everyone who provided the screenshots and evidence. My heart goes out to everyone who has been affected by Ollie's actions, and I hope as a community we can move on from this horrible situation. I appreciate your time and patience, and your willingness to wait for this document to come out. Thank you. Rory, @birdidogshop. Update 2:12 p.m. EST, January 13, 2024. Ollie is seen to be active on his Roblox account on January 13, 2024, 17 hours, 41 minutes, and 38 seconds UTC time, which is 12:41 p.m. EST on January 13, 2023. Therefore, he has been online since these allegations released, but furthermore, if he was in the hospital awaiting surgery for a suicide attempt, he would not have access to his phone to play Roblox. Therian's defense. Do not interact with therian Chase Tegu, he is an active danger to this community as explained below. If you are in his Discord server, I urge you to leave immediately, and I encourage minors especially to never interact with this person. The following section is screenshots of a conversation between Chase, a 20-year-old adult therian, ironically the exact same age as me, openly stating that he does not believe the victim W, and that it is not sexual solicitation of a minor, because Ollie is also a minor. He continues to state that the section discussing this very real, very serious, and very illegal section is unnecessary. He also states that I am unrelated to the situation, and am a random adult writing this. There are many reasons I wrote this document, and I will get into that in a moment, but I would first like to address the far more important belittling of the victim W, and the watering down of this very serious post. First, why do you think there isn't screenshot evidence in this section unlike the others? Think about this section as a whole for a moment and try to piece together if there is any other reason besides it not being real that I did not include screenshots. Alright, now that you have done some critical thinking, it's because 1. W would like to remain anonymous for their own physical safety, 2. Because showing screenshots, even censored ones, of sexually explicit images of a minor are not images. What happened to believing victims? Did you really expect me to show you images of actual child pornography in order to prove that this happened? And shaming W for remaining anonymous when their physical safety is at risk, as well as the fact that they are a minor, and should not have to prove to a literal adult that this happened, is vehemently disgusting, and Chase is a dangerous individual for stating these things. To explain how Chase is dangerous for saying this, because through my previous messages with him, he tends to need a point-by-point explanation, which there is nothing wrong with. I understand needing things explained in detail. Here is exactly why him stating these things makes him dangerous. First, as previously stated, Chase is 20 years old. Most of the members of the therian community are minors, which gives him a role of authority over many people in this community by being an adult. Why does this give him authority? Think about why there is an age of consent at all. It is to protect minors from adults who wish to harm them, as minors cannot consent and adults can. So Chase already has a position of power over most of the community based on just his age, But he also has a large following, which gives him even more say and power of the therian community. Place yourself in W's shoes for a second. You are a minor who has been sexually solicited for explicit photographs by another minor. You are terrified for your safety and privacy, so you choose to remain anonymous when the situation comes to light. Suddenly, there is an adult who not only doesn't believe you, he shames you for remaining anonymous in a Discord server that you are not even a part of. Think about the thousands of people who follow Chase who are underage, who could very much be in this exact situation. Think about the screenshot down below of someone in Chase's Discord stating that Ollie, point blank, is not a danger to the community after reading this document. What does this have to say about Chase as a person? To me, a lot. This shows that he would like to perpetuate this behavior, which I will explain exactly how in a second, since Chase has a habit of needing things explained detail by detail, which again, there is nothing wrong with, and that, he doesn't care if this were to happen to you. How is he perpetuating this behavior? He would prefer this be unpublicized, and he states that Ollie is not a danger. He does not care that someone like Ollie is in the community, and doesn't believe that people should be warned. Maybe he doesn't know that words are more than the exact ones you use. He directly implies that this behavior should be perpetuated by wishing that those who spoke out in the document didn't, and that this was not public. If this was not public, it would happen again, as this Ollie situation has been occurring for months. I cannot even begin to express how disgusting this behavior from an adult in this community is. Chase also questions my validity in making this post, stating that it's weird that I was in these chats with kids, and that I shouldn't be interacting with minors. First of all, I was not a member in any of these group chats. Making the assumption that I was in these chats is funny, considering that they are all about not making assumptions in their Discord. I was never a member of any of these group chats, and never claimed to be. I do not interact in group chats with minors, as I deem that to be inappropriate as a 20-year-old. But Chase does not see this as inappropriate, as here are screenshots of his Discord server that mixes minors and adults. Not allowed to take screenshots of messages in his Discord server and share them, when there are both adults and minors in these chats. Now that is a red flag if I have ever seen one. Especially considering that he likes to flame me for talking to minors. Weird. Here are the screenshots from his Discord server, where he calls the sexual solicitation of a minor high school drama, and where he calls my being involved in this questionable. So Chase, an adult the exact same age as myself, thinks it's weird I am involved with this solely for the fact that I am an adult. Isn't that a bit of a double standard? I wrote this document because if you read to the end, I am involved. Also, as someone who is in my third year of undergraduate college at a university who is planning on attending law school, I figure I have the best way of writing this document considering my previous experience. Would you have preferred that someone who has never written anything like this be the one to format it, or someone who is capable of making it clear, professional, and direct? I'm sure if you were in their position you would also prefer I write it. Also, in messages between Chase and Katz, he criticizes my usage of the term CP, and instead I should be using CSEM, when he uses the term CP in every screenshot here. CP is still used in legislation, and is still a term that exists when discussing these topics. This is far more than just personal business, and Ollie is actively a danger. At this point, so is Attic Therian Chase Tegu, and this individual should absolutely not be interacted with, especially if you are a minor. Update 2.1920 p.m. EST, January 14, 2024. Originally 3:59 a.m. EST, January 14, 2024. I have been receiving reports that Ollie's account is seemingly deactivated. I have checked myself and can verify that this is the case. I will send another update out if anything changes. As of right now, there are no new accounts on TikTok, Instagram, that are confirmed to belong to Ollie. Furthermore, on the Ekatherian situation, he has since outed W's identity on his Instagram story. When W then confronted the creator, he refused to apologize or take accountability for his actions besides stating that it was a genuine mistake. Not a single apology was made to the victim, despite all the awful things Ekatherian has said about W. I will keep you all updated as the situation develops. Thank you. Rory. Update 3, January 16, 2024, 2:33 a.m. I would like to make it clear in this document that for anyone who has received a death threat regarding the situation, or honestly just in general, if you send me their username I will both block the user from all of my accounts and blacklist them permanently, as this is not something I condone or tolerate. Death threats are not something I take lightly, which I have discussed with various people in my DMs since creating my TikTok account, and I will not hesitate to remove these people from my pages. So please, if anyone has sent you something awful either because of this situation or otherwise, let me know, and I will remove them from my pages permanently. Thank you. This will be the last update regarding the situation with Ekatherian. I will not post about Ekatherian going forward on my social media as I am sure both of us would like to move on, as well as the fact that all of the relevant information has been posted by both of us at this point. Hopefully, this will be my last update about the situation with Ollie as well, but I will keep this document linked in my link tree, and will update it if there is ever anything else to add. I decided against posting therian's story posts and my comments on them to this document, like I said I was going to earlier today, because I have already discussed them on my Instagram story and they just aren't as pressing as the other updates below. If therian does or says anything else that is relevant or necessary to include, I will update the doc accordingly, but there will be no more story updates. Now that this has been stated, let's move on to the updates. Ollie's Instagram is privated deleted from January 14, 2024 at 8:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ollie text message screenshots courtesy of Catskull 4WS from January 14, 2024 at 9:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. These are screenshots courtesy of Catskull 4S, and the initial message was sent on January 14. Ollie said the name of a hospital. It is blurred for his privacy. If Ollie had been hospitalized for a suicide attempt, especially one where he injured himself in such a violent way, the hospital would have admitted him for a psychiatric hold, as he would have been proven to be a danger to himself. He would not have had access to his phone, as that is standard protocol in a case such as this. He furthermore would not have been released this early, as he would most likely be in the medical ward of the hospital due to the fact that he allegedly injured himself so badly he needed surgery, and would then have been transferred to a psychiatric facility, as the hospital he mentioned does not have a psychiatric unit for minors. He would have been proven to be a danger to himself, so he would not have been released, especially when considering the brutality of his attempt. As someone who has been hospitalized 7 separate times for suicide attempts, 6 of those being when I was a minor, as well as my father's 30 years of experience in a psychiatric hospital, it would be extremely unlikely to impossible for this scenario to have actually happened. He confirms he is not coming back to social media, though this may change in the future, of course. Ollie was active on Roblox, Friday, January 12 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His account has already been confirmed to be this one previously in this document. Ollie was online on Friday, January 12 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, less than 24 hours after the police were called to his house for a welfare check. This is the dispatch number for a police station that has been confirmed to be called in the above screenshot. Clarifying what Chase meant by red flags, credit to @JupiterS pull for the screenshots. Let me ask you, what would one reasonably assume a person meant when they said interacting with minors was a red flag? What possible other implications could there be from this besides me being a predator? How else could that be a red flag? The only people confused about these meanings and turns of phrase were ironically those that said them. Members of therian's Discord allowed to try and find our location, January 14, 2024. In these screenshots, a member of the Discord mentions that they live in Maine, USA. Now why on earth would my location matter? This user is attempting to dox me. But my location is irrelevant. Why do you need to know my location for literally any reason? What purpose could you have for knowing that information that is not somehow malicious? Now I do not live in Maine, for the record. I live in New York, and also attend college in New York. I have never posted this anywhere on my page until after they attempted to dox me, where I publicly posted on my TikTok. But I have posted on my Instagram my trip to Maine last year, where I include Wells, Maine as the location. That is literally the only place I feel they could have concluded that I am from Maine, so why are you actively trying to find my location? What purpose could that possibly have other than to somehow cause me harm? Don't think I am weird for figuring this out, is also included in the user's message. You absolutely are weird for this. Why are you trying to find my location and share it with the server? No mods reported this, or even commented saying, hey, how about we don't try and dox him? Instead, another user said that it was gross. My location is irrelevant in every way, shape, or form, and there is literally no context I can think of where knowing my location, trying to find my location in general, and actively sharing it with a group of other people is not malicious. Why do you need to know my location, and why are you sharing what you thought my location was with a group of other people? This is by definition an attempt to dox me. Ollie beware. Compared to Epstein's list. These next 2 screenshots include 2 things. First, it proves that this server is 16 plus, and therefore includes minors, and in that same chain compares this to Epstein's list. Now I am going to let that one speak for itself on how sickening the comparison of this document to that of a human trafficker and pedophile is. Not to mention in a group chat confirmed to have minors, and including the tag ref, which is for reference, which encourages those unaware of what the reference is to look it up. This encourages people to look up information on a real-life human trafficker and pedophile, and compares this document to his. Also featured in this chain is calling me a whore with again ref, but regardless of what they are referencing, they are point-blank calling me a whore again in a group chat with minors. Therian supportive @QuickQuickQuit on TikTok. Please go see this TikTok account for yourself to see the insane harassment this person is pulling on me, as well as my responses to the videos posted in the comments, because it is actually crazy, haha. But this account has been harassing me all day, January 16, 2024, and one of the 4 followers is therian, which shows he actively supports this kind of treatment of me. As well as the fact that this user is making memes about this very serious situation. Yikes. They also had a PFP of the Marvel character Beast Boy as their profile picture when this account initially went up, and when I mentioned this they changed it to my logo. Which honestly is pretty funny considering I can now validly report the account for impersonation. Ollie's iPad and restraining order DMS between @Cackle4WZ and @Ollie's aviary via iMessage January 16, 2024 12:58 a.m. The first screenshot shows that this is actually a text exchange between Ollie and Cats. The second screenshot is a later more recent text from today, January 16, 2024, where he claimed the hospital gave him an iPad, which is suspect in it of itself, but that he was able to log into his Roblox account on it and that is why he was active. They don't typically have iPads available at hospitals for the record, and in a case where they did, Ollie being in the hospital for a suicide attempt would already get him barred from accessing the internet, especially considering the internet is what supposedly caused his attempt. The next portion is showing information on restraining orders, as he claims that they are getting one on Cats, and shows that you don't contact the police for a restraining order, it is the court. I could go on and on about how Ollie, even attempting to get a restraining order on Cats, would get thrown out time and time again in court, but this next section is by far the most damning. The following screenshots were of a conversation that happened minutes ago, tonight, January 16, 2024, in which Ollie makes some statements about the situation that completely confirm none of this ever happened. First he mentions how he truly feels about the community, as well as how he made his money off the community and is now done. Interesting person to defend in my opinion, especially considering his previous offenses. The fatal flaw Ollie puts in this screenshot that completely disproves his story is my dad made me sell them. Funny, since earlier he stated that his dad was selling them, including his dad messaging people on Etsy, and he was uninvolved. So there it is. A conclusion to this story? Ollie is done in this community for at least the time being, has confirmed that he does not care, and has been point-blank proven to be caught in a lie. Hopefully this document sheds some light into why calling out people for their poor behavior is necessary, as Ollie had a major following consisting mostly of kids, and this is how he acts. From this point forward, I will no longer be discussing this topic, and will be back to business as usual on all of my social media platforms. I will let this document speak for itself, and I will again state that if any of you have received death threats, or vulgar hatred from someone, related to the situation, or otherwise, please let me know their username so I can remove them from all of my accounts. I do not condone this behavior from anyone, to anyone, including Ollie. I would also like to add that if you are going through a hard time, whether relating to this situation, or not, whether online, or in person, help is out there. I have had many people become upset from this situation, including one in particular feeling thoughts of self-harming. I know this situation is upsetting, and there are many other people out there who are dangerous and will cause harm, but there are just as many who will lift you up and help you. Shedding light on the situation is scary, considering Ollie had one of the largest platforms in the therian community and turned out to be a terrible and dangerous person. You may feel like you do not know who to trust or look up to anymore. This is a good reminder to always be careful online, but also there are also many good people you will meet both in person and on the internet in your lifetime, and just because someone turned out to be bad does not mean everyone is. It is always a good idea to never believe a person is perfect or incapable of causing harm, as nobody is perfect, but not everyone is horrible, I promise. If you are feeling in any way upset from the situation, or anything else, please talk to someone you trust. If you feel alone, and have no one you feel you can turn to, please reach out to the suicide hotline, which is 988 in the United States, and a text option is available if you do not want to talk out loud. You are never alone, and there is always something better around the corner, I promise. This is a good example of why you should always speak up in a situation like this, and I encourage all of you to do so. There is so much more to life than horrible people online. And remember that you are important and that for every person like Ollie there are 10 more people who are loving, and will lift you up instead of tear you down. Thank you all for your support of both myself and the victims involved, and as of right now, I feel comfortable saying the situation has finally reached its end. Thank you. Rory.